And people are constantly looking for, what do most people want? What does the average consumer want? And this quest for the average consumer, this quest for the sort of, the platonic ideal product that is going to suit, the mass consumer has largely defined 20th century commerce. What we're basically finding is that the aggregate market for misses, if you will, is as large as the market for hits. We assume that misses are bad. We assume that misses failed in the marketplace. We assume that misses are basically to be avoided. And what we're discovering is that misses are often just a case of narrow but deep taste that's difficult to distribute. Misses are sometimes actually the most attractive sectors because in a marketplace that doesn't have to choose between hits and misses, they're looked at as deep niches to be explored. Now, no single one of them sells a lot, but there are so many of them. And because you can aggregate those individual sales so efficiently with a digital marketplace where the marginal costs are zero, that we've basically discovered a whole new land. This is basically the dark matter of the marketplace, hidden in the 20th century because of inefficient distribution, and finally surfaced because we have a marketplace that doesn't discriminate between the popular and the quote-unquote unpopular, that understands that there's more unpopular products than there are popular products, and that if you add up all those quote-unquote unpopular products, what you end up with is a marketplace that's not only large and growing, but potentially a place that's most profitable and most engaged. Why did it take till 2007 to create the world's first gluten-free beer? So the biggest surprise for me after coming out with the book was to find that Anheuser-Busch created a new division called long-tail libations. We never thought of the long-tail beer. So what is the long-tail beer? I called Anheuser-Busch and I said, tell me what the long-tail beer is. This is their product line in 1997. This represents what scarce distribution requires of beer. It is one size fits all. Bud Light, Busch. One could argue that this is nobody's favorite beer. What it is it reflects the commonalities of taste. It is a beer that is probably nobody's, or it probably is okay to the largest number of people. Now, some people may like it a lot, but in general, these are beers that are designed to optimally take advantage of expensive distribution rather than cater to the individual taste. And, that's what the marketplace required. Now, let's fast forward to 2007, and this is their product line. So what's new? What is the long-tail beer? Well, it starts with microbrews. Then you have craft beer. You have regional beers. So already you're starting to differentiate in terms of taste, in terms of brand, in terms of geography, in terms of production process. And then finally, the first product from the division, this one here, this is Redbridge. This is the world's first non-allergenic beer. It is made, it is gluten-free, and it's made with sorghum rather than wheat or barley. So I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned because, why did it take till 2007 to create the world's first gluten-free beer? We've had gluten allergies as long as we're a species. The Egyptians were the first ones to make beers out of sorghum. So why did it take till 2007? Now, this has nothing to do with the internet. Nothing at all to do with the internet. Why 2007? So I asked them, and they said there's two things. The first is that we as a culture are fragmenting in terms of our taste. Regardless of the internet, as we become more affluent and more informed about our choices and what we like, and in a sense learn more about ourselves, we're becoming more discriminating in what we buy. So right now there's kind of a trend away from the one-size-fits-all, away from the lowest common denominator, towards things that define us. We don't want to do what everyone else does. We want to sort of, in a sense, exhibit our uniqueness through our consumer preference. That's one factor. The second factor is that even in traditional distribution, we're becoming much more efficient about being able to stock variety. So between point of sale terminals and barcodes and just-in-time supply and small batch supplies and being able to do market research on what the right geographies are going to be for any particular product, we've managed to double the number of products or SKUs on a supermarket shelf over just 12 years. So if you go into any supermarket right now, what you find is an explosion of variety, even within the constraints of traditional distribution. So the cost of the shelf space hasn't fallen, but by being more careful and efficient about how we put products on that shelf, we've effectively increased its size. Rather than putting, 100 of one product on the shelf, we're able to put maybe 10 of 10 products in the same space because we can now buy in those orders, we can store on those orders, and we can spot demand. We can anticipate demand more carefully and get that just right. We as a culture are fragmenting in terms of our taste. And so when you take any commodity, and I did this as an experiment. I said, what could possibly not have a long tail? And I said, flour. There can't be a long tail flour. Well, I live in Berkeley, so perhaps it's a slightly uncharacteristic example. I found 22 different kinds of flour in my local supermarket. There's the various grains, the rice and wheat and barley, and there's the organic, and there's the fair trades, and then the different branded and non-branded kinds, and the different additives, all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. You can hardly find a category that hasn't had an explosion of variety. And the reason that's happening is that it wouldn't happen otherwise. It's profitable to do so. You can charge more for the unique product than you can for the commodity one. By basically watching the market fragment, identifying the niches, you're able to offer a value to people that they will pay for. And this ability to kind of celebrate people's understanding and awakening to their differences is where we're finding all the growth in these commodity spaces.